My name is Liza Thompson, and I live in Austin, Texas. At 20 years old, I thought I had it all figured out. I had fallen in love with Cody, a charming and soft-spoken man who promised me the world. We met at a small cafe downtown, where he swept me off my feet with his goofy smile and quiet confidence. I was young, in love, and eager to start a new chapter of my life, one I believed would be filled with happiness and dreams coming true. But reality, as I would come to learn, had other plans. Sophia, Cody's mother, didn't even try to hide her disdain for me from the moment we met. She was the type of woman who exuded authority, with her perfectly coiffed hair and icy demeanor that could make anyone feel small. To her, I was never good enough, not smart enough, not wealthy enough, and certainly not the daughter-in-law she envisioned for her precious son. She called me that girl with a sneer that made my stomach churn. In the early days of our marriage, I tried to win her over. I baked cookies for family dinners, offered to help around her house, and even endured her sharp criticisms with a smile. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. Sophia was determined to make me feel unwelcome, like I was an intruder in her perfectly curated world. Cody, my husband, stood by silently through it all. When I confided in him about how Sophia's words stung, he would shrug and say, "That's just how she is. Don't take it personally." It was as if he didn't see, or refused to see, how her constant barbs chipped away at my confidence and made me question my place in his life. Worse, he seemed to prioritize her needs above mine, insisting that I give her $1,000 every month because, as he put it, Mom has done so much for us. To him, it wasn't a big deal. To me, it felt like I was being used as an ATM, with no regard for how I felt or the sacrifices I had to make. I worked long hours to contribute to our finances, only to see a chunk of it handed over to a woman who openly hated me. Sophie would smirk as she accepted the money, as if it were proof of her power over me. Every month, as I handed over that check, a part of me felt smaller. I wanted to believe that things would get better, that Cody would one day stand up for me, or that Sophia would soften. But deep down, I knew I was fighting a losing battle. It happened the day I made a decision I thought was right, one that reflected the values my parents had instilled in me. My brother Ethan had always been my rock. Even with his disability limiting his ability to work, he never complained, never asked for anything more than what life gave him. When I received my modest inheritance after my father passed, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. Ethan needed help, his medical bills were piling up, and his home needed repairs to make it accessible. I couldn't stand by and watch him struggle while I had the means to make his life just a little easier. Without hesitation, I transferred the entire amount to him. It felt good, right even, to know I was doing something meaningful for someone I loved so deeply. But Cody and Sophia didn't see it that way. I remember the moment Cody found out. He came home early, his face red with anger as he waved a printed bank statement in my face. "You gave your inheritance to Ethan," he yelled, his voice echoing through the small living room. Without even talking to me, I tried to explain, to make him understand why I had done it. "It was my money, Cody. Ethan needed it more than we did, and—" "You mean Mom needed it more," he interrupted, his voice cold. "You've been giving her money every month, and now this. What about us, Liza? What about our future?" Before I could respond, Sophia burst through the door, her presence as overbearing as ever. "I knew you were selfish, but this is betrayal, Liza," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "You don't deserve to be part of this family if you can't even support it." The words stung, but what hurt more was the way Cody stood there, silently agreeing with her. He didn't defend me, didn't even try to hear me out. It was as if all the love he once claimed to have for me vanished in an instant. Sophia didn't waste time. She demanded I leave, saying I had no place in their family anymore. Cody didn't stop her. He simply handed me a suitcase and told me it would be best if I went. That night, I sat on a park bench with everything I owned stuffed into a single bag, tears streaming down my face. I felt betrayed, abandoned, and utterly alone. But even in my despair, I didn't regret my decision. Ethan needed me, and I had done what I believed was right. If Cody and Sophia couldn't see that, then maybe I didn't belong in their family after all. It had been 5 years since that night, 5 long years of building a life from nothing. I had moved to Seattle, started my own small business designing custom home decor, and found a circle of friends who felt more like family than Cody or Sophia ever had. For the first time in my life, I felt free, free to be myself, to make decisions without fear of judgment or manipulation. Then Cody called. I almost didn't answer when I saw his name flash on my screen. I hadn't heard from him since the day I left, and I didn't want to revisit the pain he had caused. But curiosity got the better of me. What could he possibly want after all this time? Liza, he said, his voice strained and desperate. I need your help. My stomach tightened as he began to explain. Sophia had suffered a stroke and was now paralyzed, requiring constant care. Cody had lost his job, drained his savings, and was drowning in debt trying to cover her medical expenses. He needed money, and fast. I don't know what to do, he said, his voice breaking. You're the only person I can turn to. Anger and guilt crashed over me in waves. Part of me wanted to yell, to remind him of how they had treated me like an outsider, like I was nothing. But another part of me, the part that had always been too soft, too willing to forgive, felt a pang of sympathy. She's your mother, Cody, I said, my voice trembling. You and she made it clear I wasn't part of your family. Why should I help now? He sighed heavily, then said the words I had dreaded hearing. Because you're a good person, Liza. Better than me. Better than her. I know what we did was wrong, but you've always had such a big heart. Please, for her sake, if not for mine. His words sliced through me like a blade. I hated how he twisted my kindness, using it like a weapon against me. Memories of Sophia's smirking face, of Cody's silent betrayals, flooded my mind. I could feel the old wounds reopening, threatening to pull me back into the cycle of guilt and obligation. But this time, I wouldn't let them. No, Cody, I said, my voice firm despite the lump in my throat. I'm not the same person I was back then. I spent years putting your family's needs above my own, and all it got me was pain. I won't do it again. You're really going to let her suffer? He asked, his tone shifting from desperation to accusation. After everything she's been through. I couldn't help but laugh, a bitter, hollow sound. After everything she's been through? What about everything I went through, Cody? She hated me from the start, and you let her. You stood by while she treated me like dirt, while she kicked me out of the house I helped build. And now you expect me to save the day. No, I won't do it. The line went silent for a moment, and then he said, You're selfish, Liza. I can't believe how cold you've become. His words stung, but not in the way he intended. Instead of hurting me, they confirmed what I had already known. Cody hadn't changed. He was still the same man who had let his mother's venomous words drive a wedge between us. Think what you want, Cody, I said, my voice steady. I'm done letting you or anyone else make me feel small. I've built a life I'm proud of, a life without your toxicity. I won't jeopardize that for people who never cared about me. When I hung up, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt truly free, free from the guilt, the anger, and the scars of my past. That evening, I sat on the balcony of my small but cozy apartment, a glass of wine in hand and the city lights twinkling below. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Surrounded by friends who loved me, doing work that fulfilled me, I realized that I didn't need their approval or forgiveness to be happy. For the first time in my life, I chose myself, and it felt incredible. A year had passed since Cody's desperate phone call, and my life couldn't have been more different. Seattle had become my sanctuary, a place where I'd rebuilt not just a life, but a sense of self I hadn't known I'd lost. Gone were the days of living under someone else's shadow or bending to demands that drained me. Now, every decision I made, every step I took was mine alone. My home, a bright, airy loft filled with plants and sunlight, reflected the person I had become. It was filled with things I loved. Art from local creators, cozy nooks for reading, and an open kitchen where I often hosted dinner parties for friends. These weren't just any friends. They were my chosen family, people who lifted me up, who celebrated my victories, and who reminded me every day that I was worthy of love and respect. My business had flourished, too. Designing custom home decor turned into a full-fledged studio, with clients who valued my creativity and vision. I had a team now, a small but passionate group of people who shared my excitement for transforming spaces into places people cherished. Work didn't feel like work anymore. It felt like purpose, like joy. But the biggest change wasn't in my surroundings or my career. It was in me. I no longer flinched at the thought of Cody or Sophia. Their opinions, their judgments, even their existence had become irrelevant. They no longer held any power over me. and that realization was liberating in a way I couldn't have imagined before. One evening, as I stood on my balcony watching the sun set over the city, a wave of contentment washed over me. The sky blazed in hues of orange and pink, the air cool and crisp against my skin. I thought about the girl I had been, the girl who had bent over backward to please people who would never be satisfied. She was gone now. I didn't feel bitterness or regret, only gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, painful as they were, that had shaped me into the woman I was today. I had learned to choose myself, to set boundaries, and to walk away from anything or anyone that didn't honor my worth. A soft buzz on my phone pulled me from my thoughts. It was a message from Nora, one of my closest friends, reminding me about our karaoke night. I smiled, knowing I'd soon be surrounded by people who brought nothing but laughter and light into my life. As I grabbed my jacket and headed out the door, I felt a deep sense of pride. I had weathered the storm, faced the pain, and emerged stronger than I ever thought possible. My life wasn't just good, it was mine, and that, more than anything, was worth celebrating.